New details tonight about artwork seized at the Orlando Museum of Art last year. The pieces were fakes.
Where did the words come from?
Real life books to television.
Yeah, and you just skim them and start including...
No, man, when I'm working, I hear them, and I just throw them down.
The last 24 hours of Jean-Michel Basquiat, August 12, 1988. Just past 8:30 a.m., a call goes out from a loft on Great Jones Street in Manhattan. Inside, 27-year-old Jean-Michel Basquiat, one of the most electric forces in modern art, is lying unconscious. Paramedics rush to the scene, but it's already too late. The man whose work once exploded across walls, galleries, and consciousness is gone, dead from a heroin overdose. His death sent shockwaves through the art world and beyond. This was no ordinary artist. Basquiat was a raw nerve, a cultural lightning bolt. And yet, beneath the fame, the millions, and the iconic crown, was a man unraveling quietly. What happened in those final hours? How did a life so full of defiance and brilliance end in such silence? Jean-Michel Basquiat was born on December 22, 1960, in Park Slope, Brooklyn. His father, Gérard, was Haitian. His mother, Mathilde, was Puerto Rican. He grew up in a home filled with music, culture, and contradictions. Gifted from the start, Basquiat learned to read and write by 4 and could speak 3 languages, English, Spanish, and French, by the age of 7. But his childhood wasn't free of trauma. That same year, he was hit by a car while playing in the street. While recovering in the hospital, his mother gave him a copy of Gray's Anatomy. That medical textbook would haunt and inspire his paintings for the rest of his life, becoming a symbolic skeleton in the background of his work. Basquiat was close to his mother, who encouraged his creativity, but her mental health struggles and eventual institutionalization deeply scarred him. He drifted through schools, challenged authority, and by 17 in 1977, after dropping out, his father kicked him out. He survived by couch surfing, sleeping in parks, and painting on doors and buildings, making the streets his gallery. In 1978, alongside his friend Al Diaz, Basquiat created the graffiti persona SAMO, short for Same Old Shit. Their cryptic messages painted on Soho buildings became urban poetry. One message read, "SAMO is a myth," another, "playing art with father's money." These weren't tags, they were provocations. By 1980, Basquiat had caught the eye of the New York art world. He starred in the film Downtown 81, sold postcards on the street, and played in the experimental band Gray. But it was the Times Square show in June 1980 that launched him into the spotlight. A year later, his chaotic brilliance was featured in PS1's New York New Wave exhibition. Then came his first solo show at Anina Nose's gallery in 1982. Every painting sold out. He made $250,000 that year. Critics, collectors, and celebrities couldn't get enough. His work was wild and layered. Skeletal heads, fractured language, black heroes, historical symbols, and abstract pain all danced together. Basquiat wasn't just part of the scene, he became the scene. That same year, 1982, Basquiat met Andy Warhol. Their connection was immediate, intense, and creative. They collaborated on dozens of paintings, including Dos Cabezas, which captured their friendship in full force. But critics turned on them. Basquiat was mocked as Warhol's mascot. It wounded him deeply. Their partnership, once electric, ended on awkward terms. When Warhol died in 1987, Basquiat was devastated. Yet during this time, Basquiat created some of his most iconic pieces. Dustheads, Untitled, 1982, Defacement, and Riding with Death weren't just paintings. They were screams from the inside, blending anatomy, jazz, politics, and rage. Untitled sold in 2017 for $110.5 million, setting the record for an American artist. He wasn't painting for beauty, he was painting for truth, and sometimes the truth hurt. In private, Basquiat was passionate, obsessive, and deeply sensitive. He dated fellow artist Suzanne Maluk, who described their time together as a mix of ecstasy and chaos. They shared dreams but also heroin, which soon became a third presence in their relationship. Later, he was linked to figures like Kelly Inman and Kristen Vigard. He was magnetic but volatile. His loft was a space of creativity and disarray, music blasting, friends coming and going, paintings scattered and drying. He struggled with fame. Basquiat wasn't just seen as an artist, he was labeled a black artist, a street kid made good, a novelty. Despite global acclaim, he still faced racism. He was once denied entry to a gallery show he was starring in because of how he looked. This contradiction, the world embracing him while also rejecting him, fed his isolation. By the mid-80s, the pressure had cracked the foundation. Basquiat's drug use escalated. Heroin dulled the anxiety, masked the loneliness, quieted the noise. He entered methadone treatment briefly in late 1980s, but dropped out after 3 weeks. After Warhol's death in February 1987, something shifted. Basquiat stopped painting for months. He avoided friends. His appearance changed, thinner, paler, haunted. He described hearing voices. His art turned darker, more skeletal, more fatalistic. Friends worried, dealers whispered, some tried to help, but he was slipping. August 11th, 1988. Jean-Michel was at his Great Jones Street loft. Visitors came and went. Friends noticed he was jittery, agitated. He spoke about new plans, moving to the Ivory Coast, starting a tequila bar, writing a novel. It seemed optimistic, too optimistic. That night, he went to the MK nightclub. He wore a dark suit and a fedora, trying to look sharp, but his eyes looked distant. Photographer Kevin Bray spotted him and later said he wasn't there. He was floating. At around 2 a.m., he returned to his loft with friends. They drank Gatorade. He made jokes. Then everyone left. Around 8:30 a.m. on August 12th, his girlfriend Kelly Inman walked upstairs and found him unconscious. The floor was littered with heroin paraphernalia. He had overdosed in the night, alone. He was taken to Cabrini Medical Center, pronounced dead on arrival, 27 years old. News spread like wildfire. The art world froze. Keith Haring was among the first to speak out, devastated. A private funeral was held on August 17th, followed by a public memorial on November 3rd at St. Peter's Church in Manhattan. Hundreds attended. Basquiat's crown, painted over skulls and saints, now symbolized a fallen king. The autopsy confirmed the cause: heroin and cocaine overdose. He had just returned from a detox retreat in Maui a few weeks earlier. But after weeks of sobriety, his tolerance had dropped. The same dose became lethal. Some speculated he may have been suicidal. Others argued it was an accident, just one hit too many. His death wasn't just mourned. It was analyzed, dissected, debated. But to those who knew him, the answer was clear. He was exhausted, misunderstood, and overwhelmed. In the aftermath, conspiracy theories brewed. Some believed foul play was involved. Others questioned the role of his art dealers, critics, and inner circle. But there was no cover-up, no scandal. Just a brilliant man, outpaced by his pain. His story became symbolic of genius burned too fast, of a system that profits off suffering, of how society mistreats the minds it claims to admire. Basquiat's work didn't fade after his death. It exploded. Over 30 years later, his name commands millions at auctions. His style, primitive, poetic, political, remains unmatched. Museums across the world honor him. Fashion brands adopt his imagery. Rappers cite him as gospel. In 1996, Julian Schnabel's film Basquiat introduced him to a new generation. Today, children study him in schools. Young artists imitate his bravery, his voice, his refusal to compromise. And the market? In 2017, his untitled 1982 sold for $110.5 million. In 2021, in this case, sold for $93 million. He became the most expensive American artist in history. Not bad for a kid once homeless in Tompkins Square Park. His last 24 hours were quiet, lonely, and tragic. But his legacy, it roars. Even now, decades later, we still feel it. The shock, the pulse, the urgency.